much more descriptive of your actual.
Okay.
By the way, what the place where spelling errors are most often overlooked is in the title. I mean, there's one paper I was looking for this paper on the web. This one by
You mean?
or something about how to disagree without losing control. But he misspelled it. That's right. He misspelled it. It wasn't losing. It was loosing.
Van
And
der Oom.
I couldn't find the title. I don't know where the hell it is.
Van der Oom.
And it's all over without losing control, which passes the spell checker.
Yeah. Indeed, probably. I'm not sure if you get past the ground. Check railroad check. Okay. So the outline, I talked about the background, I started with the contribution, discussed the methodology, have some discussion of the results, talk about the limitations of the research, and then what future research there is. The motivation for the research, identity fraud is a huge problem, not just in the USA, but all over the world. The largest case to date, or at least in 2004, and I haven't found anything larger since, was one case where there were some Nigerian ringleaders working with a USA insider, an insider in the sense of working with one of the large banks that had free access to the credit checking companies and all the data that the credit checking companies have. So eventually there were 30,000 victims. As of 2004, 30,000 victims across the USA and Canada have been identified. Something like $29 million in losses. And the fact that the losses are getting worse.
A little graph here would be much more compelling.
Okay.
You can show some growth rate.
Yeah, I have that graph.
You've got two measures. One of them is the number of victims, and the other is the total size of the losses.
Yeah, I have a graph.
Two little graphs.
I have one slide that has all of that actually. I could put that slide.
And then many of them are not being reported.
Mm-hmm. I could
So
have
this
the
is-
slide.
This is a conservative estimate. Okay, move on. I want to keep you moving here.
Step. Just making the notes of all the things we're saying. Okay. So clearly there's a need for tools and guidance for better prevention and detection, and that was the motivation for the research. Some definitions about an identity, that just as a set of facts that describe the relationship between an individual and an organization. And normally those facts are recorded in some kind of document, the identity token. So whenever I refer to, throughout this discussion, wherever I refer to an identity document, I'm talking about this token that contains that set of facts that's defined as an identity. Different types of identity, when I talk about an identity types vary by the issuing organization. So for instance, one type of identity document is a U.S. passport that's issued by the State Department in the USA. A Jamaican passport is a different type of identity document.
It's a diplomatic passport, different type.
Yes, it is, because it's actually issued by a different branch of the State Department. And it contains different types of data.
The reason I raise that is that there's shades in there where it's a little bit difficult.
Yes, and we could probably make some arguments about that. However, for the purposes of what I'm doing
Is a
here,
motorcycle driver's license different than vehicle driver's license different than chauffeur's driver's license different than?
actually, in that case, in the state of Florida, they're not, because they're issued by the same organization and they contain the same data.
So, same organization or same person? Diplomatic passport.
Okay, when I say organization,
Rehearsing.
yes, sure. Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. And I'm prepared.
Learn to have quick answers here. Don't get involved in long debates.
Yeah, and I will have quick answers. I mean, I'm very comfortable with this. a definition of identity fraud potential. What I'm talking about, when I talk about identity fraud potential, or the potential for identity fraud in an identity document, that just means that the identity document does not represent the holder. Then if the document does not accurately represent the holder, then there's a potential for identity fraud. So for instance, if you change your own facts, does that constitute fraud? If you change your address, the color of your eyes or hair, is that fraud? No, it's not fraud, but it's an indicator of fraud potential, which is the variable of interest that we're looking at here. If a passport has changed information that doesn't match you, even though it may be your passport and it may represent you, because some of the facts on that token have changed, the potential for identity fraud may have increased. So that's what I'm talking about when I say identity fraud potential, just that the document represents the holder.
Your point 3, I'd like you to change it so it says identity type, and somehow distinguish it's kind by organization.
Okay.
So when you talk driver's license, it's not any driver's license, it's not any U.S. driver's license, it's state. So Florida driver's license is different.
Is a different type from an Arizona or whatever. Okay.
So distinguish it
By
kind and by
by kind and by existing organization. Okay.
Is identity fraud potential then only if the document does not represent the holder, or is it also when you change your facts? It's not.
Well, if you change your facts so that the document no longer represents you, then there's a potential for identity fraud.
Okay, but if I have a diplomatic passport, it's me, but nobody issued me a diplomatic passport. I mean, so is that, it represents me, it's just.
you're saying it's a fake passport, but it represents you perfectly.
Yeah, I mean.
Right. And in that case, if in fact I talked about this later on, but if you are